and good day, everybody. Today, we are talking about FitSM. My name is Lory Quackenbush. I'm with APMG International. I'm based out of New York. And today, we're really going to get into the topic of FitSM and how it compares with ITIL. And we have a very, very experienced gentleman here with us today. Today, we have Dierk Söllner. Now, he is a solopreneur, and he's got a couple of books coming out geared towards ITIL service management with FitSM. So welcome, Dierk, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you, Lory, and thank you for your time. So
Sure.
I'm fine to be here.
Well, FitSM, I actually recently got certified for FitSM, so I just found the information absolutely fascinating, especially in this, predominantly ITIL world. So I know we're going to get into it. We have a lot of questions that I'm going to throw at Dierk today to really get into all of the nitty gritty. But first, Dierk, just tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little about your background and your experience.
Okay, thank you, Lory. So let's start with some facts. I have more than 55 years of life experience, so very experienced in life. And I have more than 32 years of professional experience in various areas of IT and more than 14 years self-employed. And by the way, I call myself a solopreneur because I act like an entrepreneur. I act like a person who takes charge and can put my expertise and my experience solely to the service and to the success of my customers. I'm accredited as a trainer for various frameworks, starting with FitSM, of course, but also including Scrum, Kanban, DevOps, and through to the Scaled AI frameworks. And my latest passion is experience level agreements. So that's it. And my mission is called, maybe I should translate it, empowering people and teams with empathy and competence.
Love it. Good stuff. Obviously, a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge here. I know what we're getting into talking about today. And the reason, thank you so much for joining us for this interview and allowing us to really kind of, dig under the hood a bit here. Tell us a little, before we get into some specific questions I have for you, tell me a little bit specifically about your books.
These two books we rewrote because it's not only my person. I wrote it together with Ansem Rora. It's a consulting guy here in Germany as well. That was a very fruitful collaboration with Ansem. And we started, I think, nearly 10 years ago with a German book, for that. And then we decided, okay, let's switch to English, to an English book. And after make this decision, we tried to get a useful book, and we decided to divide those books, so to get more, to put more content in, to put more knowledge in, and so we decided to have two books.
Makes sense. Okay. Well, again, thank you. I can't wait to get my hands on a copy of, especially the new versions coming out. So if it's all right, let's just get right into some of the questions I have for you, if you don't mind. So Dierk, first question for you is, what inspired you to write about FitSM? And actually, how did you start? How did you become an expert in this field?
Okay, so I think we should start with the second part of the question. So FitSM is a simple IT service management framework. And starting in 2001, I've worked for almost 10 years for a medium-sized IT service provider here in Germany. And there I used ITIL because FitSM didn't exist there yet. And I simplified ITIL for practical application and useful implementation. So I did the same the guys did with FitSM, building up a small late-weighted framework. And I've always been interested in late-weight frameworks because my interest in FitSM was sparked by its late-weight and flexible nature, which makes it accessible to a wide range of organizations and, of course, to individuals. Business is shaped and created by people. So that's what the ITSM world needs to my point of view.
Right.
And I can contribute practical experience with ITIL, with scaling down ITIL, and through working with various organizations later on as a consultant and trainer, I gained hands-on experience in implementing and adapting FitSM to different environments. So even though FitSM has only been on the market since 2015, I have practical experience in the implementation, consulting, and training of late-white ITSM, IT service management, since 2007.
Okay. I mean, good stuff. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So I know we're going to talk about it some more, but let's just get right into what's the differences between FitSM and other IT service frameworks like ITIL. What's the difference? Everybody's going to ask that same question.
Yes, yeah, so it's always the same. And I think I will start with late white versus comprehensive. So, to my point of view, FitSM is designed to be late white and easy to understand and easy to implement. And whereas ITIL is, for example, is more comprehensive and detailed.
Mm-hmm.
So, FitSM provides a simple and useful basis for IT service management, which is perfectly adequate in many situations, as I really was engaged in. And by the way, late white does not mean that you should underestimate it or that important things are missing. So that should be the first point to point out some difference. The second point is flexibility. FitSM offers more flexibility in terms of customization to fit specific organizational needs. And I'm a fan of agility, and I find a lot of it in FitSM, in this small late-weighted service management framework. IT service providers and the people involved can use it as a comprehensive basis on which to build their own way of working. So if you look at Scrum speaks of empirical process control, so empiricism. And FitSM support this in particular if you look on the requirements from FitSM 1 and FitSM 6. So these are two documents within FitSM, and you can start building your own IT service management framework to use it by the practical use of the 82 requirements of FitSM. And just to add this, that was one point for me and for Ansem to write those books, because there's a gap in the original sources from FitSM. We both noticed a lack of comprehensive resources on FitSM, which motivated us to fill this gap with our books. And so what do I mean by that? FitSM provides the framework with all 5 relevant documents. I just mentioned 2 of them, and they are free of charge and free available. So, however, one important thing is missing: the coherent presentation with links between the individual documents and the content. So you only have 5 documents, but no linking, no coherence, and of course explained and evaluated from a practical perspective. So that's what Ansem and me, what we added as a value. We added our explanation, our evaluation from a practical perspective. So, in short, the simplicity of FitSM has literally called out for a book for the professional world.
Love it. I love it. As somebody who's actually gone through the FitSM, training course and certification, who is not from IT. I do not have an IT background. I love what you said earlier. Your first point, you talked about it just being so, lightweight. And, I can't imagine myself as non-IT getting into the ITIL, but I really was fascinated with the ease of being able to get into the FitSM and understand it. And, not that it's easy, because it's certainly not. I mean, there's a lot to learn, but just how well I could take even my experiences, from my past, from Wall Street, things like that, and put it into play and really understand it, not just from an IT atmosphere. So
Yes.
again, I thank you so much for that. I love what you said about, bridging that gap. That's really important to be able to bridge that gap and, really kind of fit the bill between the two. So thank you very much. Really, really interesting stuff.
Yes.
One other question. So how would you think that FitSM can benefit, small to medium-sized businesses compared to, say, larger organizations? Like, can they use that too? How does that work?
Yes, maybe I should add one point to the last question, to the difference between FitSM and ITIL, and that means that you can use this argument for your question as well. So. Very important difference is cost and complexity. FitSM generally requires less investment in terms of money, in terms of time and resources compared to ITIL, for example. And as already mentioned, FitSM is free and available free of charge. And with our 2 books, you can easily build up a comprehensive understanding and carry out a practical implementation. And the exams for the FitSM training courses definitely cost less than, for example, than ITIL exams. So using the free content, using our 2 books, you can so you should spend less money. So and as I told you, it's not that there's enough information in it. So let's start with scalability. For small and medium enterprises. FitSM is highly scalable and can be easily adapted to the needs of those small and medium companies without overwhelming them with complexity. So each service provider can carry out a self-assessment with FitSM. I just mentioned the document FitSM 6. So this is a self-assessment document. And so each provider can do this on his own, and the responsible managers know where the organization stands. They get this basis. They can define their goals, and they can define the activities, the goals, and the way to reach or to go to the goals. And the second book we wrote is a great help there, I think. And it is called Practical Implementation Guide, for a good reason. And in addition to company examples we have, it also provides information on how the roles and responsibilities can be structured in practice. So you get really practice-orientated information. And as well, as I told you, cost effectiveness is really a good point for that. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's a big thing, right? The cost, especially no matter where you are in the world with the economy we're dealing with right now, cost is very important. So it just makes sense, especially to those, small to medium-sized businesses to take a look at this, right? Yes. So what would you say, just as a next question, what are some of the most common challenges that organizations, whether they're big or they're small, are facing when implementing FitSM? What are some of the biggest challenges?
To my point of view, FitSM is not only a framework, and you don't have you cannot implement a framework. That's what your question is concerning. So I think you have always something like cultural resistance. The people don't want to be changed. We all need the changes needed, but there will be a cultural resistance. And many organizations face resistance from employees who are accustomed to traditional methods. And our books provide strategies to address this resistance. On the one hand, we have dedicated an entire chapter to this topic, and on the other hand, in the technical experimentations in book 1, we have paid attention to how to create understanding for the need for change. So special chapter, and it's built in the book 1 as well. So and book 1 second point, sorry for that. Second point, the lack of resources. If you look to small and medium companies, there's a lack of resources. So limited resources can hinder implementation. And FitSM and our books offer guidance on prioritizing and managing the resources effectively. Once again, using the FitSM requirements, FitSM 1 and FitSM 6. Using those 2 documents is the most important way to start with.
Right. I mean, so you mentioned you have there's a whole section of book 1 that talks about change and how to change that cultural and the resistance. Can you talk just a little bit more about that? Especially
yes,
now.
Yes, right now. No, so
2025.
the resistance can be divided into organizational resistance, personal resistance, and based on technical things. And we cover all these things with some examples and how to go against, how to work on these based maybe technical resistance or organizational resistance. And in book 2, called the Practical Implementation Guide, we focus on all these points.
Okay, good stuff. Well, thank you. Great information here. I can't wait to get my hands on the books. So just let's see, another question here for you, if you do not mind. So how do you see the role of FitSM evolving in the future of IT service manager? How do you see this? How do you see it going, say 5 years from now? How do you see this evolving?
Yes, it's a good question, because we put one chapter in the book regarding FitSM the past years, or the past 10 years, because FitSM was published in 2015 and now we have 2025. So we have 10 years in changing the IT service management world. And so to my point of view, I foresee that FitSM is being adopted by more organizations due to its flexibility and ease of use and easy to understand. So knowledge about IT service management is becoming more and more common sense. And FitSM brings a simple and cost-effective framework for this.
Right.
And I think, to my point of view, I'm the guy who's always telling something about continuous improvement. I'm helping my customers to go on a process to continuous improvement. To my point of view, the framework will continue to evolve through feedback and updates to remain relevant in a rapidly changing IT landscape. And it will be a healthy basis for all service providers for their own development. Just not only adopting something like ITIL books describe, but build their own way, make their own experience, and change the way of working based on FitSM, based on Deming cycle, plan to check act, and all the things like that.
That's what I like about it is I feel like, there's wiggle room. You can kind of build on it and grow from it and kind of make it your own. And it's, again, you keep talking about, I think it makes perfect sense, is cost and effectiveness, right? So that's what I think everybody's looking for nowadays, especially now in 2025, and they'll still be looking for that 5-10 years from now. So I think that makes just so much sense. So can you describe a particularly successful case study? Everybody likes case studies. They want to see, does it work? Yes. Can you show that it works? What's the difference? So would you mind just kind of giving an example of a case study where FitSM implemented, done well, done right, and where it made a difference? Could you give me an example?
If you don't mind, I would like to mention 2 of my customers as examples. So, firstly, I have one customer for me is an IT service provider with just under 20 employees. And they've been using they've been using FitSM since 2020, and they are increasing their capability levels in small steps every year. Because every year I go back to them, make an assessment, make some more trainings talking about future processes and all the things like that. And FitSM has helped them to structure the existing processes, because they were working for IT service management, but not in defined processes. Okay. And they are now able to respond better to unexpected challenges, such as customer audits. And they are telling this to me and all their customers. At the beginning, the employees regularly held a retrospective every 2 weeks, a really great thing I would like to mention, and discussed selected problems from the last 2 weeks. And this gradually increased the maturity level of the processes. So now they don't have to talk every 2 weeks. I think they do it monthly. So this is a smaller service provider. And another example is the IT department of a public authority here in Germany. The IT department has around 150 employees, so it's a bigger one, and began introducing ITIL 10 years ago. No, it's really ITIL, no mistake. 10 years ago, all employees were trained, and then relatively little happened. And so we started a new attempt, and I trained almost 60 employees. And
Wow.
to do this, I supplemented the FitSM simulation cargo with FitSM Foundation. You told
Okay.
us FitSM Foundation is a one-day training, and the FitSM simulation from Gaming Works is another day. And I combined these two things. So each of these workshops lasted 2 days. And in my opinion, the involvement of the specialist departments was very interesting. So I had both the HR department and the legal department in those workshops. And they also described their services and processes on the basis of FitSM. So this means, to my point of view, that FitSM is also ready to help with enterprise service management.
Right. Right. Oh, that makes absolutely sense. Makes perfect sense. So, for somebody again who has gone through the course and certification and just was amazed by it, I just loved FitSM. I loved it so much. What are some key takeaways you would say that if somebody went and read your book, what do you think they are the main chunks, the main things that they would take away in terms of understanding and actually using FitSM? So what's the
Yes.
juicy stuff? What's the bread and butter here?
Yes. So first, IT service management is no rocket science. So this is not the first book about IT service management, maybe not the last one, but I think the combination with freely available framework and this book is really helpful. So let's start with foundational knowledge. Readers from our books will gain a solid understanding of the principles and the components of FitSM. And of course, some of this knowledge can be obtained free of charge from the original documents.
Right.
But our books put it into context and supplement it with practical explanation as well as helpful examples and tips. That's regarding the first book at the most. And second book, practical implementation strategies. Our books, the second book the most, provide actionable strategies for implementing FitSM in various organizational contexts. We have the first book with these strategies as a supplement, and the second book has 2 example companies in detail. We have a smaller IT department with up to, I think, seven employees, and the second example is a service provider with, I think, 28 employees. So really more than, I think, 25 or 30 pages with practical implementation based on FitSM.
That's great. Because I think that's again is the bread and butter, is to be able to not just take what you know from FitSM, but to actually see actual examples and how, companies big or small can implement this and use it with actual practical examples, right? So that's huge. That's great. That's wonderful. Another question for you. So obviously there's a lot of talk around the ITIL world. How do you handle criticism, right? So there's a lot of people that are skeptical about the effectiveness of FitSM, right? Compared to some other established frameworks like ITIL. So how do you handle that? What would you say to that? People that are trying, is it an apples to apples comparison? Is it not? So what do you think about that?
I think first of all, we all have the right to speak free and to have our arguments and things like that. So, but I just would like to refer on one of the things I mentioned twice or third time, this cost benefit analysis.
Yes.
I provide cost-benefit analysis to show how FitSM can offer better value for certain types of organizations. And so this doesn't only mean a cost by paying consultants or trainers.
Right.
It's just to receive value more in a shortened way, as a more fast, getting faster with benefit you get. And second point, I think, is I can prove that FitSM is flexible and adaptable. And these are key advantages over those frameworks that seems, or they are, a little bit more rigid. So flexibility, adaptability, cost benefit, and I think that's okay. That would, to my point of view, that would be enough.
Right. Key points: flexible, cost effective. And we keep hearing a lot of these same terms, but this is really what we're talking about. This is really, again, the juice of this here. So are there any experience that you have had or any insights you can maybe give that kind of surprised you? So when you were writing your books, is there anything that kind of surprised you or what might surprise potential readers? So give us some things that might surprise you on that.
I told you we translated this book from German to English, and we decided to divide it, to make 2 books out of one. And I think translation and getting the right words for another language, it's just it was unexpected. And the second one was unexpected, that we encountered unexpected challenges in simplifying complex concepts without losing the essence, and which taught me that the importance of clarity in technical writing. So I can explain it in German words in my training, but it was a little bit challenging. We're really explaining complex things in easy words.
Hold on. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes complete sense. I think we have time, if you're okay with it, for one more question I'm going to throw at you here.
Yes.
And then we'll, again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to us about this today. But, I guess at the end, what advice would you give to organizations that are thinking about maybe looking into FitSM as an option or for the first time? What advice would you give?
Maybe not only for the first time, but as I told, for a restart for IT service management. As I told you, I get more and more contacts, which tells me we started with ITIL several years ago, but let's try another step. So what advice would I give? The first thing is just easy one: start small. And right. It's not only because FitSM is small, because it's really, I think that's the only way to start change process, to start changing organizations, and to start to start changing people. So let's start with a pilot project and start with the things using the FitSM requirements. And it's up to you to find a controlled environment before you scale it up. And that's supported by FitSM. So start small is the first one. And you can use the FitSM 6 document to assess current processes. So there are some things are in place. The people work. The people have the way of working. So assess these processes and evaluate existing processes to identify areas where FitSM can add the most value, maybe in a short time.
Right.
So, and maybe the last one, I think you should seek expert guidance. Consider consulting. Not only me, other guys. We have enough guys on the world who have experience with smaller IT service management contacts.
Well, this is great stuff. I think this has been very, very good information from anybody even remotely looking into FitSM. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time. Dierk, thank you so much for, sitting with us today and let us kind of throw some questions at you and talk a little bit about your book. Now, we're obviously going to put in some information, below where people can access the books and find out where to find them, how to reach out to you, how to connect with you, and to learn more about the books. But I guess just to kind of wrap this up, any sort of last words to the folks that are listening right now, that are hearing this and thinking about maybe I should reach out and check out one of those books. Any last words of wisdom?
Last words of wisdom. First of all, thank you, Lory. Thank you for having me here as a guest to talk about that. And IT service management is no rocket science. Start with FitSM.
Even a caveman like me could do it, who's not even in IT, right? So
okay.
It's good stuff, though. I think change, like you mentioned this earlier, and I just thought it was really paramount. I think change is happening all around us, whether we like it or not. And I think the more people are kind of, becoming more adaptable, even if it's just small, like you said, take those small steps, those small changes, one thing at a time. But I really can't thank you enough for diving into this with us today, and kind of giving us your perception and your feeling and your experience on this. And I hope everybody that is listening to this will take the time to go take a look at your books, pick up one of your books. And thank you so much. So we really appreciate it. Dierk Söllner, thank you so much. Lory from APMG, and have a great, wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.